Okay, we'll get started because there is so much to see and learn. For those of you who are still trickling in, there are seats in the front, so please don't be shy. You can come to the front of the room and sit down. Uh, Hello, everyone. I'm Igor Siddiqui, Associate Professor here at the School of Architecture. Our speaker traveled a long way just to be here with us for this evening, and I'm thrilled to welcome them to our school. Odile Decq is one of the most accomplished and celebrated architects of her generation, not only in her native France, but also across the world. She is the head of her eponymous studio in Paris and the founder and leader of the Confluence Institute, an independent RIBA-accredited architecture school in France. Decq established her practice in 1978 after completing architecture studies at La Villette, along with earning a diploma in urban planning from Sciences Po. In 1982, she joined forces with her late partner, Benoît Cornette, with whom she practiced until 1998. As an emerging architect working in France during this period, Odile Decq completed several major built projects, including the award-winning Banque Populaire de l'Ouest in Rennes and buildings for the University of Nantes. Referring to this chapter of Decq's career, the curator Frédéric Megarou characterized her as belonging to a small but important international group of architects committed to a serious questioning of the status quo and pushing the discipline to its conceptual limits. In 1996, Decq received the Golden Lion at the Venice Architecture Biennale for this body of work. Since then, her Paris-based studio has produced an extensive portfolio of visionary projects worldwide, some of which I hope we'll get to see tonight. The work is multi-scalar in the tradition of experimental architectural practice engaged in the design of seemingly everything, from objects to cities, expanding in this way the boundaries and influence of architecture and overlapping with other creative fields from art to technology. This includes furnishings for the UNESCO headquarters in Paris, lighting products for Luce Plan, numerous houses, institutional projects like the Museum of Contemporary Art in Rome and FRAC in Brittany, the Tangshan Archaeological Museum in China, and that's just a few. Odile Decq is the recipient of many awards, including the 2023 Acadia Excellence Award, the Jane Drew Prize by the Architects Journal in London, the Lifetime Achievement Award from Architizer, and the National Order of Merit awarded by the President of the French Republic. Dedicated to architectural education as much as practice and research, Odile Decq has over the years taught internationally at the Bartlett, SCI-Arc, Columbia, and the GSD. She was the head of the École Spéciale d'Architecture in Paris from 2007 to 2012. In 2014, she established her own school of architecture, the Confluence Institute, first based in Lyon and now in Paris. I was lucky to be part of the school's life on a couple of occasions and to witness the same spirit of risk-taking, innovation, and critical production there that always permeates everything Odile does. Please help me welcome Odile Decq.
Yes, it works. Okay. So they didn't give me a microphone, so I hope that you hear me. Yes, until the end? Perfect, okay. So thank you thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Igor, to insist that I come, and finally I came. And it's not because I did not want, it's just because it's a long way. But okay, I like to travel, I like to discover new places, I like to discover new countries, I like to discover new people, I like to discover the world. So it's a new world for me because I've never been in Austin. It's my first time, even if I went already in Texas before. But I'm glad to discover, and today we did a tour with Igor through the city, and he showed me how it is, what is the size, So it's a nice, pretty city. I will say that. Even it's a capital of a state, it seems to me to be a nice, pretty city. And he told me that it's a nice place for living, it's a nice place for enjoying surrounding, to enjoy nature and city. So maybe it's a perfect place to live. So, and I'm glad to be here with you. So my lecture is titled Horizons. Why? Because, first of all, I have to tell you that I'm from Brittany in France. That means close to the sea. And this is what I look at every time I go there, and I go there very often. This, for me, the horizon line is a very important line for me because I don't know if you sail. Maybe on the Colorado River number 2, because they told me that is number 2, not number 1. So this is maybe if when you sail, you have to make a point to know where you want to go, and you make this point on the horizon line. And you start to travel. When you travel, you have to negotiate. You have to negotiate with the wind, with the sun, with the current, with everything, for reaching that point that you never reach, because as soon as you reach the point on the horizon, it's just in front of you again. So, and I compare this sailing to the horizon as doing a project in architecture. Because as soon as you start to do a project, for me, I know globally where I want to go. Not precisely, but I know more or less where I want to go. Maybe I say, okay, when to go there. And we start to negotiate. We start to work. We start to decide, to discuss at the office, and sometimes with the client too. And in the meantime, we have to negotiate. We have to negotiate with the site itself, the geography, the economy, the politics, the money, the art. So it's full of that. And we reach a point. And as soon as the project is done, I always want to go further. So this is exactly the same. I want to go further else. So this is why I call it horizon. So I start by showing you, no, not that one, yes. I start by showing you some art installation. Because since 2004, maybe 2000, I start to do art installations that sometimes I'm asked by gallery, by people, by institutions, etc. And it was one of the first one in 2007. It's a art gallery that close to my office that I renovated the space. And the gallery owner told me that you will be the first one in the gallery. I said, okay, I'm an architect, I'm not an artist, so what can I have to do? And I was thinking about this little sketch on the top that I was showing to my people in my office to explain what I call the dynamic equilibrium. I love that when it's an equilibrium, but it's dynamic. When you can reach, as a student, you learn that you reach an equilibrium with 2 pillars, a beam, this is very static. But you can reach equilibrium with only 1 pillar. But for doing that, you establish where is the point of equilibrium. So this is why we built it with 2 balloons. There is one which is a balloon of air, which is very big, 2.5 meters diameter, and filling nearly the space. And the second one, which is a little one, aluminum ball, filling with sand, grain by grain at the end. And in between, we have a long beam, which is 6 meters long, 6 centimeters by 6 centimeters, upon a pillar of 6 centimeters by 6 centimeters, without being attached. Just so to reach the point, I asked my engineer to estimate more or less where it is, and then we tried. And as soon as we succeeded to have the equilibrium, we knew immediately that it was unstable, could be unstable. Why? Because the balloon of air is refilling nearly all the space. So as soon as you walk on the B side of this balloon, your body is moving the air, and the balloon starts to do that. So you know that this is at the point of disequilibrium, even if it's equilibrium. So I like this effect of ambiguity. And there is a festival of garden in France every year, and every year they ask for a proposal. So in 2009, the thematic was colors, and somebody in my office said, why not doing a black garden? I said, okay, this is for us a black garden. So for doing and I was thinking this is a good way, because I was sure that the landscaper, the architects, the artists will fill all the gardens with colors, colorful of flowers. And I said, okay, we will be neutral, we will be just black. But we will be a space which for calm and meditation. That means that we built a kind of a space with sheets of glass, black glass, surrounding the space. The floor is filled with tire powder on 15 centimeters height. So the sound is absorbed. As soon as you enter into this garden, and there is someone at the other extremity, you want to talk to that person, and you don't hear each other, because the sound is absorbed by the floor. And in the center, there is a little pond of 2 centimeters of water. That's it. So it's a black garden, a place for silence, a quiet place in the middle of colors everywhere. And the sun is playing with the sheets of glass, making reflection, changing the perception of the space. So this is really important for me to change the perception of space everywhere, to make it changing. In SciArc, maybe you know that there are an exhibition space, and they ask 2 or 3 times a year. They were, I don't know if they continue now. They were asking for architects to do something in the exhibition space, and I proposed them to build a space inside the space. And my space is built like that with 4 triangle equilateral, so equal triangle. But what you don't see there, that every wall is not vertical. And all of them are covered inside by mirror, like that. So you see that from the top. And there are passages in between them. So because they are not vertical, and because they are covered by mirror, when you are inside, you don't know where you are. You are totally lost. The space can't be perceived as it is. So the regularity of the triangle is totally changed, because you don't know where are the limit between the floor and the walls, and because you know everything is reflective. And you are enjoying the space by playing in that space to be lost. I like to lose people in the space sometimes with installation. Not in architecture. Sometimes it's complicated to do that, but why not? Experimenting, because it's an experiment. So in 2019, another art gallery in Paris asked me to build something, an architectural something, on the Place de la Concorde during the art fair. And I built a black pavilion. And this black pavilion is the replica of a pavilion that I met once. I saw once in a garden of a castle from the 18th century. And I replicated exactly the dimension of this pavilion, but built with glass, black glass. So this is just a silencious object, black, in the middle of the Place de la Concorde. So as soon as you go there, you are reflecting, the Place de la Concorde is reflected in the surface, even if it's just a sheet of glass. But when you are inside, you are in the middle of the square. So you see yourself in the middle of the Place de la Concorde, but nobody can see that you are in. So this is interesting of how to play with that. And the structure on the top was quite particular to support the glass. And 3 years later, he asked me to do that in transparent for plants and a green pavilion. So we built again, but transparent, with full of plants inside, in the middle of the garden of Les Tuileries. But when you look at this pavilion, and you see what is there, this is that? No, this is not that. Where is the pointer? No? I don't see the pointer. The pointer is the top one. C'est celui-là? Okay. Maybe that one? No. That one? No. Okay, doesn't matter. Okay. If you look at that, so the proportion of that is exactly, at another scale, the proportion of the pavilion of Le Louvre. So when we show that, it's in relation to that. And this is no, this is not that way. That way? Okay. And inside there are plants, there are a little table and benches that you can sit inside in the middle of the plant, in the middle of... Because in the past, when they built the Jardin des Tuileries, they had a greenhouse. And the people of the Louvre now want to maybe build another one to have a greenhouse for the people, for the visitors in the garden. But not yet. And architecture. And I do also architecture. So this is a Museum of Contemporary Art in Rome that I won in 2000 and built for 2010. So we are in the center of Rome, even if... Have you been in Rome? No one. Okay. Doesn't matter. So no, Rome is quite important for an architect to go because it's a place where in the history, in the Beaux-Arts, it was the main trip to go there, to go in Italy and visit Rome. Okay. It doesn't matter. You don't forget it. So this is the historical center where you have all these ruins for the Roman time. And my site was a little bit on the B-side, in a place where it was built in the 19th century, beginning of the 2000s. And it was an old industrial place with a brewery. And they have already transformed it. So this is... Oh, no. I found the printer now. So, by hazard. No, this is not that. OK. So the pointer is there. Ah, nice. So this is... the competition was for that. They already renovated that part, which are two wings and a door. And they wanted to transform that part in a new museum to connect to that part. And in between this entrance to the new entrance that they asked us, there are a difference of 4 meters. This one is lower than this one. So, and we are in Rome. Rome is very particular, as I told you, full of Roman ruins. And this is very protected, totally protected. No, you can't build contemporary architecture inside. So I was thinking, OK, they asked me, they asked the competitors, to create a new entrance, but to keep the facade on the streets. I don't like that. Keeping the facade, that means doing fake architecture, keeping the facade and doing something behind. OK. But I said, OK, I took advantage to do that. Because this is, I can hide myself behind the facade that I have to keep. Just cutting the angle to have the corner, to have a new entrance. And using this difference of these two levels, to these two doors, to create something which is totally inside the facade. And having a new floor at 4 meters below the existing floor of that, at the level of the street here, cover the total surface by a big roof, and having in between a ramp which is going from this courtyard to go up to the roof or down into that, to have a double connection at 2 levels in between these two parts. Entering there, having a huge exhibition room that they wanted to have 1,000 square meters, having an auditorium in the center, using that space that I had to keep as with the historical structure connected to the courtyard here, covering the total surface by a roof, and keeping this roof that I had to keep. OK. So now we will travel in. So this, no, not that way. It's a bit at the inverse of everything. I don't know why, because I mean, OK. So this is the new entrance. And the new entrance of the museum is in between these two facades that I kept. And I painted in white, because all of that is painting in Rome in yellow. But I wanted to have them white. So I negotiate with the historical monuments of 3 levels, the state, the region, and the city, for an hour and a half to have the possibility to do it white. And how I did it, I said, I could do it black. They said, what? Black in Rome? So I said, maybe we can go to white, you know. So finally we came to, after 1 hour. So sometimes you have to do like that. You have to negotiate. You have to say, OK, to push further and go back. Because this is what you want to do. This is the back. So this is that. And in between these two facades, creating a cafe, a glass box suspended over the entrance to create a cafe in the street. Because this street is turning a little bit. So when you are in, you have the impression that you are in the street, over the street. And no, this is not that one. No, this is the other one. I will find at the end. It will be on the right order. So, and we start to go underneath the cafe to enter into a little courtyard because they ask us to keep a courtyard, to keep some trees like that. And as soon as you enter, we enter inside, there are another level. So you have the cover, the roof, the surface at the entrance, and the mid-level, which is passerelle, promenade at the mid-level. And this is, and why I did that? Because this pavement is the basalto that we have on the pavement in Rome. On the cover, on the roof, this is basalto. These are two public spaces, one outside, one inside, continuing the city and the pavement. And the other one is inside. So I don't have to do the mistake of that. No, this is not that one. Oh, yes, like that. So there are another promenade at mid-level. And I painted all the public spaces in black. Not the exhibition room, but all the public spaces. That means the big foyer. And with, no, again, like that, to have promenade at mid-level with a glass roof over that is providing natural light into the foyer below. And, yes, and in the center, an auditorium. And the auditorium is a shaped volume, which is not totally regular, not at all regular, to make it, to give the impression that it's a bit destabilized. And digging the floor below to create more the impression of being a big mass, unstable. To green, this is that. Inside, outside is matte, inside is bright. So everything is red. This is the heart of the museum. This is a place where you can meet the artists, when you can discuss with them, where you can have a meeting, where you can have discussion, you can have everything for the museum. And we did, and in the middle of the construction site, they asked me if I wanted to design the furniture because traditionally in the past, architects were doing design because all the big designers of Italy, maybe you don't know them, but you have to look at books, and they were architects studying architecture before and became designers. All the great designers of the 60s, 70s, 80s, because they didn't have work, they were architects first, and they became designers. And they asked me if I can do that. If I want to do that, I said, yes, I want to do the furniture. But they didn't give me a contract, so it was for free that I designed the furniture. Yeah, I wanted to design furniture, so why not doing it? You know, money is not the focus in the life. So I designed, no, that one, okay. I designing the bench, which has an arm which is mobile, that you can sit all together, but all individual. On the back side, there is a little tablet. When you take off the tablet, the light is lighting, so you can take notes. When you store that, the light is off. And the main exhibition room is huge because I have told you it's 1,000 square meters. And there are a kind of variation of height from 11 meters high to 7 meters because they didn't know when they did the competition what it will do. They did not know that it will be a museum. They were thinking of a gallery. They were thinking of theater. They were thinking of ballet, of whatever. And they did not know. So ask us different height. So I played with this height for the space from 11 meters high to 7 meters. And you see that there is one passerelle which is passing in the middle, coming from the lobby behind, and passing there to have a different point of view to the art show below. And this, as I told you, I painted the lobby in black, public space, but inside the exhibition room, white. Because this is not for me. This is not for the architect. This is for the artist. This is for the curators. So this is for something else, for somebody else. And the roof itself is a landscape, because thanks to in relation to the different height that we have to do for the exhibition, we played with different surfaces, and we inserted inside these different surfaces, glass surfaces, to light the surface above, and to paint also the neighbors' walls for having screens on this terrace, having a restaurant there, and this is in the middle of the lobby. And I designed the lamps for the terrace. And the cafe, as I told you, it's in the middle, in the street. and we designed the tables and the chairs, full colorful. And what is it? Why I show you that? This is because the ground floor is in relation to the ground floor of the surrounding building around. There are only residential building around. The cafe is at mid-level, so it is connected to the people at mid-level of the building. And the roof is connected to the people on the top. So there are different connections to the area around, thanks to the different levels that we have. And the toilets. I speak about toilets, and I show my toilets, because you have to know, if you think carefully, that toilets is a place, it's a space that you don't have regulation. This is the only place where you can play, you can experiment, you can do whatever you want. Because you just have to have a surface dimension, you have to have some ventilation and light, that's it. So nobody asks you anything about toilets, so you can play with toilets. Yeah. So my toilets are like a box that I inserted under the old structure, covered with stainless steel, mirror stainless steel outside and inside, and having a big mirror at both extremities. And in the center, just that object that is white and becomes red when you want to wash your hands, because you are manipulating your hands above that, and you cross infrared that are coming from the ceiling. And as soon as you cross the infrared, the water is going up there, and the dryer is coming up too. So you play with the others, and you smile when you get out of the toilets. Nice, no? It's an art piece also. So this is another museum that I did, as Igor said, the Frac in Rennes, west of France. And it's a particular place, a bit outside at the limit of the city, where they were building a big park, but also a particular place because it's a place where they erected an art piece, which is that. And it's from a French artist, a concrete art form, who was doing concrete art, playing with geometry and mathematics. And she was 92 when I won the competition, and she gave regulation for the competition for the building. And she said that she didn't want that we light a piece from the museum, and that we have to create a silencious facade. So I decided to respect what she wanted. It was not erected yet, but it was erected later on. So this piece is a lot of, I don't remember how many, maybe 72 stones of granite, and that on the dimension of 81 by 72 centimeters, 4.5 meters height, so this is playing on the number 9. So I was thinking, okay, and my facade is black. It's a black monolith. But this black monolith is made with different materials. The top part is covering the main exhibition room on the top, and covered with the facade is black mirror stainless steel. So it's black, but because it's mirrored, and because the weather and the sky is changing every hour in Brittany, because we're in Brittany, the color of the top changed a lot. Below, there is the mid-level is at the level of these stones. Below, there are glass. And these glass are starting from black to light gray. And on the side, this is a concrete block, a black concrete block. But you see it as gray because the weather is dry. As soon as the weather becomes humid, the concrete becomes more dark and black. So there are 3 different kinds of black, playing with the weather, playing with the color, with the weather only. And the entrance is there. You don't see it, but now it's written that it's the entrance. Okay. So it's a silencious monolith because the artist asked that. But inside, this is something else. I cut this monolith all the way along, created a glass roof on the top to light the central part of the museum, and having an auditorium in the middle, having all the elevators and the promenade in the middle. But as soon as you enter, you are facing the back side of the auditorium, and you can't go there, even if you see there is a lift. You have to go back to the facade, and you see that the facade is transparent, and you have to take these steps. You have to climb these steps all the way along of the facade until you go to the cafe first on the park, and then you go on the back side to walk the step and the ramps in the middle of the cut that I did in the volume. And you have sometimes just steps, sometimes ramps, and sometimes a stair, which is just sheets of metal anchored in the concrete with just a parapet. 30 meters high, from the top roof to the storage below, inserted 8 meters below the ground floor. So it's a kind of a void, very narrow, very long, but could be problematic for people who have vertigo, because this is very narrow. So I decided not to do the usual glass parapet that you have usually with something on the bottom and the glass is standing up. I said that we inverse that. So we decided to create an inverse parapet by having this big row of steel and to anchor the glass under this handrail. And it took 1 year and a half to convince the control office to do it, because it was not usual. It was not in the regulation, it was not anything. So after that, we succeeded to do it. And because this is when you walk there, if you have vertigo, you go there, but the handrail is at your belly. So you feel protected, even if it's a glass parapet. And the exhibition room are neutral, as the other one, because it's important, open to the park when it's east or north, to have light, and the toilets. Toilets is written, because it's written WC, and inside there is an undulated glass, an undulated partition, which is made of mirror stainless steel, and this is when you want to walk to wash your hands, you go there, and you see you fat or slim, never the right way. So it's a game with you. You play with yourself. And they said this is violent. I said, no, this is just something to play with you. Okay, and in the night, the light is coming from below, but not outside, because we lighted only the auditorium. And the top part becomes more and more darker until it becomes like a lantern. In China, I did a competition also for a paleontological museum. And it's from it's a place close to Nanjing where they discovered the bones of the man of Nanjing. At this time, it was one of the first, the older one that discovered on Earth. And this man was living into these mountains, in grots into these mountains. So I went to the site, I visited the grots, and I saw where they were founded. So, when you are an architect and you visit such a site, you are moved to know that you are walking on the path of the man of Nanjing. That means million years before us. So this is particular. So I was thinking, so these people, because it was a couple, were living into the mountains, and we can establish the museum where we wanted. So I decided to have the museum on the mountain, in the mountain, by playing with the curved line of the site until we did this model, paper model, and then the building, which is rebuilding all the curved line of the site, creating the landscape going up onto the museum, and rebuilding all the lines on the facade. And having an atrium in the center, not totally in the center, but to create a promenade, vertical promenade, with a void inside the floor, between the ground floor and the first floor, and the second one, etc. But they are not exactly the same, and they are not totally at the same place. So having this lift, these escalators crossing the space at different directions, you have to turn around this atrium to take the second one, etc., etc. So that means that on the meantime, when going up, you will have the knowledge of what is exhibited on both sides. And you discover and you decide where you want to go to visit. This is just a vertical promenade until we go to the top. And I do also sometimes offices building. So in Lyon, there are two rivers. One is the Saône, the other one is the Rhône. And in between, we have a peninsula. And this peninsula was forever the industrial harbor of Lyon. And the city bought the land, pushed out the harbor to somewhere else on the river, And decided to create 1 million of square meters for developing that because we are in the city center, close by to the city center. So, and the company who is owning the river and the canals in France was the owner of this piece of land and decided to do competition for building pavilions. And I won this one. This one is the last one on the peninsula before going under this bridge to the Museum des Confluences, which has been done by Copy Melblau. And this one is for 2,000 square meters of exhibition room. And my building is for 8,000 square meters of offices. So, different texture, I can say. And so, because I was at the end, I decided that I will play with these objects that are still remaining on site, which are the big cranes, to transfer the goods from the land to the river. By building a particular structure to make, my land is, my plot is that one. But I decided to make it pivoting the top part to go to the river, to have the end of the block going at the angle of the bank. Yeah. And for creating that, because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 floors in cantilever of 28 meters long, I had to create a huge, huge structure inside. And this structure are 3 pylons, in reference to the pylons that we saw before. And with a huge structure on the top to hang all the floors from the top to bottom. And we built that like that. So first, we built the ground floor, the underground with the car park. Then we built a column, the only column in concrete that we have for the shaft for everything that we needed. We brought by the river the pylons and all the beams. And then from this huge structure on the top, we hung the floors. So they are really tiny, but they were suspending the floors below. The main beams are on the top are very high. You can see that in reference to the man on the bottom. And no, this is not that. And this is the building in cantilever of 28 meters going to the river. And we had to work at the beginning of the competition with an artist. They asked that we work with an artist to insert art into the building. So I worked with Felice Varini, with a Swiss-French artist living in Paris, and works on point of view and perspective. And I told him, okay, Felice, I will do a very simple block. Please change the perception of my building. And he said, first, you never give an order to an artist, I do what I want. I said, okay, Felice, you will do what you want. So he came back to me and said that he will erase architecture which is arrogant compared to the landscape by taking photos from the top of the building, virtual place on the top, taking photos of the 4 directions and reapplying the photo on the facade to make the building disappearing after the landscape, but in black and white. And I think, okay, thank you for Felice, because my block is transparent. This is for offices, and I will use this piece of art to filter the light inside. So finally, art is useful. And he said, oh, no, this is not that. So that's a joke between us, like that. So, and because we were on cantilever above the ramp, the quay, I made pivoting the atrium in the center, and the atrium is there. And you look through, when you are walking on the bank, you look through the building by the ceiling that you see there. So you discover what happens in the building. And in the center, there are the 3 pylons. No, they are not there. It doesn't come back. Doesn't come back. Okay. No. Okay. Back. The pylons are for lifts and staircase. And everything else is open. This is a total open space around. And the spaces were, okay. I always have the problem with this photo. So these are offices building, offices. So you need to have lighting and acoustics panel, and acoustic for the space. But I didn't want to have false ceiling because I wanted to use the concrete slab to have to bring the energy to heat it in the day, to have pipes inside and to transfer the water that were in the pipes during the night and refill it in the day. This is a specific sustainable system that we did for using the slab. So I needed the slab to be thin. So I have to have the equivalent of a false ceiling. That means acoustic and inserted light. So I decided to I proposed to create a lamp. A lamp which is an acoustic panel with lamps below. And I sent that to Luceplan, with who I was working for the Museum of Rome. And they did a prototype, and they said that works very well. Because when you look at that, the sound that is coming from below is absorbed from bottom and from the top. So this acoustic panel is playing useful for the offices building. So, and now it's a petal in the catalogue of Luceplan and toilets. But not as fun as the others. This is just a place where you can take your hands and check the hands under the glass. Okay. Maybe it's not politically correct to speak about that today, but okay, I like to do that. And in Paris, we had a long, 600 meters long warehouse from the 60s that the city bought and did the competition for transforming in an area for working, for a new area for the city. And they did the competition, and Rem Koolhaas won the competition for transforming that. And he proposed to create 2 floors of car park below, to have the ground floor as commercial, and to have above different kind of buildings and a program. Housing, to cut that because of the metros that are passing through the building, offices, multimedia startup, incubator, and to destroy that, to create facilities, gym facilities, and school. And the other one, this one was a competition, this one were given to us. So I add this one. And so this is activities. Rem Koolhaas gave just a regulation very simple. He said, first, ground floor is crystal, because this is transparent, this is commercial. Then you have to keep the structure, which is in concrete. That means concrete. You have to step back by crystal, again, facade, a transparent facade, and then again, something solid. So I said, okay, what can I do with that? So I decided, because it's a startup it's a multimedia startup, incubator, I said, so these people are creative. These people are full of ideas. So I will create my facade with bubbles. And on the south facade, they are white. On the north facade, they are black. And on the side, they are black and white. Because I'm the only one who has a side facade. And with that, I said, okay, now the motto of the building will be everything black and white inside, except the meeting rooms, which will be bubbles, red bubbles. So above the lobby, which is black and white, we have a bubble for meeting above. On the back side, you have another bubble. To go there, you have to take a little passerelle to go inside that bubble for a meeting. We design tables that are not regular, because this is for creative people, so they can sit as they want. We decided that they will do as they want. We redesigned the carpet with portion of circle, bubbles again. And the lift arrival at every floor is black and white, and the inside of the lift are black, and the other side are white. When you push the button, you don't know which one is coming, the white or the black. On the back side, there are some seats and some tables that you can work there. And then on the top, when you have the top part, we have the huge bubbles overlooking Paris, because we are very high in Paris. And you have also, okay, and that's it. And this is the last office building that we built in Paris. It is for, maybe you have heard, maybe you didn't, that there is this new tower in Paris by Renzo Piano, which is a new courthouse in Paris on the north. And my site is that one, in between that huge, huge railway is coming from the center of Paris, the Gare de l'Est, and another which is passing above as a bridge, large bridge over the boulevard which is below, and a little bridge that was coming from the courthouse. And my building is just in between these two bridges. So my building is going down to the boulevard. And under that, we have 3 floors of public car park. We have to maintain and to sustain the traffic of the bridge coming from the station. We have a tunnel under this bridge because this tunnel is to bring the prisoners to the courthouse, very controlled by the police. And I propose to have some offices immediately on the boulevard and to create the tower like that. Not a tower, 8 meters, 8 floors only. But I twisted the first block because maybe you saw that this is built with 3 blocks. Because when I was passing on the boulevard below for the competition, I was discovering that maybe the first part could be seen as different facade, turning, twisting, and to have different views on this building. So I decided to twist it and to have that on the top, at the front going down to the boulevard, to create that with a particular structure because the city of Paris is asking to have wood in 2 buildings today. So I have the pillars that are in steel. No, I don't do that. The pillars are in steel. The slab are beams of wood with concrete slab connected to them. And that means that this top part is in cantilever. And when you go into the offices plateau, you see these beams in wood, and in between the beams you have the shafts. You don't see anything, and you have the petals suspended in the plateau. The staircases are large because I wanted to have that as greenhouse, but to have a place for traveling, to have connection between the different floors, and the top part is not. And this is playing with the light with the serigraphy of dots on the glass to protect from too much sun and in the night. So I did a tower in Barcelona. This tower in Barcelona was before already a concrete skeleton that has been stopped in 2008 about the financial, when there were the financial crisis. And a client, a company with partially funded from New York, partially funded from Luxembourg, bought it and decided to create a tower. This was not a tower. This was a building, quite high, but not a tower. And on the back side, we had another building. So we proposed, because it was a competition again, we proposed to demolish that building, to add all the floors, all the surfaces that we had at this part on the tower, to create it to go up to 100 meters, what the client wanted. And we discovered that the regulation of the place helped allow us to go further at every floor to create balconies and to go to the 100 meters limit. But for doing that, adding a lot of structure, a lot of weight on this building, which was a concrete skeleton from 10 years, we had to reinforce the foundation. And the foundation, we are going into a car park of the hotel on the below. So we couldn't add pillars. We had micro piles into the foundation of the hotel. And then we reinforced the floors to create the balconies, to expand the surface. So this is a huge problem of structure at the beginning. And then, because I look at the plan of this object that was not very nice, I decided to enhance, to have the impression that is enhancing the height, and we developed a surface, a form which is undulated. We demolished 2 floors below to add to the top, to go to the 100 meters. So this is the undulation that we have, that every floor is different. this is a lobby, which is now 10 meters high, and with having a mirror surface on the ceiling, we have the impression that it's 20 meters high. So we took the javelots that I show you for the macro at the beginning to create a chandelier that is with 25 javelots suspended together, but it goes in the reflection of the ceiling. And we have also some seats that we install in the lobby, a green wall, and the basement. The basement is a big wellness center of 1,000 square meters with a yoga room, with some sport facility and a swimming pool. And the swimming pool is under an oblique ceiling, which is a car park ramp going to the car park. And because it's oblique and at the end it's not so high, I propose to cover the underneath with mirror. So when you swim, you are swimming and looking at you swimming above. And on the roof, which is a rooftop, there is another swimming pool, which is infinite, going to the sea. We are 100 meters high, and this is a continuity of water on the roof. But it's huge because it turns around the building. So we have duplexes on the top part with big, huge balcony. We designed everything, including the steps. We designed everything. This is global design. For me, this is what I call the global design. So we don't stop to the facade. We don't stop to the image of the building. We design all the details, everything. So we design the kitchen islands. We design the bathtub, the door handles, the signage, the steps of the stairs, and the lighting in the corridors, and more and more. And the cafe, the restaurant on the ground floor. I asked my client to do it. They said, okay, you can do it. With contract. This time it was with contract, all of that. Yes, and I designed also the garden in the backside, etc. And we designed the seats, the tables. I was advising the chef for the glasses, for everything. And we designed a big, huge chandelier, not a chandelier, a lamp, which is very long, with a lot of objects inside, and the toilets. It's a mouse, and inside you wash your hands. So this is a huge building, but now I do some also little one. So this one is in Grenoble, and it's artist residence. The owner is an art collector. She's a woman. She's living there, and she had a little garden going down into the trees. And I visit the place, and I discover that if I stay on the ground, the artists who will live there will never see the fabulous landscape that we have in front of us. So I decided to create a kind of a vertical house, like that. But from the backside, from her garden, this is silencious, not to disturb her when she's in her garden. But you have overlooking the Alps, the city of Grenoble, so it's quite nice. And by twisting the vertical volume to catch the light and the sun at different directions, like that. And to have the workshop down and in wood. This is all in wood except the backside, which is in concrete. And the vertical volume is like that. Very little tiny volume, a living room, a bedroom, and on the top a belvedere to overlook the Alps and the city around. So this is a black wooden house. And I did a white glass house in Brittany. So this is for an Englishman who had the illness of macula in his eyes, and came to me and said, I want to have a house which is totally lighted, totally bright, with never having one part of the house which is more lighted than the other one. So because he was in an industrial of glass and steel, he developed a kind of a super layered system of glass with particular insulation inside to create the homogeneity of the light. So I propose it to him to have a parallelepiped inclined and to have to perform this parallelepiped with black glass, like that, with some windows transparent to have a look outside. And inside, this is like that. So he has a collection, an art collection. So everything at the beginning, when you enter for the first time, you feel, oh, it's not really like that. But finally, you are used to do that. And this is total glass lighthouse. So this is in Carantec, on north of Brittany. And more recently, I have been asked by another client to do another house on a fantastic place, which is in between two beaches, a little peninsula overlooking the sea, just having the view to the sea. But with a particular condition that this land was belonging before to this house. And this house didn't want to have the house built to erase their perspective and their view to the sea. So there is a wall in granite in between these two pieces of land. And they said, you can't go over that. So I went there. I went on the terrace of this house, look at what is the perspective, what is the diagonal to oversee the sea. And there were this little fake fortin in front of at the beginning. But we decided to insert the house into the land, a little bit into the ground, and to have a glass house, no, a roof of stone to continue the wall which is on the back, to have just stone on the wall, on the roof, and the house is totally glass. So this is 170 square meters of glass, of surface, surrounded by glass, and they have just the view wherever they are in the house to the sea. It's a little patio in the middle, so you see everything, you see the sea. And it's a beautiful landscape point of view. And we designed a canapé, a sofa, to make the difference between the two levels that we create inside. Designing a canapé to have a lying place, a sitting place, to watch the TV, whatever they wanted. And not bad. I've been there, and it's really nice to be there. And, okay, yes, I received a call in 2003 from a man who had a client. He was a lawyer, and he had a client who wanted to build a boat, a sailing boat. And he was reading, the client was reading an article, an interview that I gave to a magazine in Rome about the difference between Paris and Rome. I was explaining that for me, Paris is very easy to travel in, because when you look at the map, and you see where is the River Seine. Maybe you've never been to Paris, but you have to look at the map. So there is the River Seine, and along the River Seine, there are all the buildings, all the museum, everything. And thanks to Haussmann, who did all these boulevards, this is easy to understand how the city is built. When you go to Rome, this is really a chaos. You look at the map, throw it away. You don't understand the map and the travel. So you have to start to sail. I said, you have to start to navigate into the city, to understand how you're going to go there from one square to another square to another piazza, etc. And I was comparing that to sailing. So you had just, this architect, she knows something about sailing. So, okay, they called me. And I said, yes, I know about sailing because I was sailing in Brittany. So they asked me to meet, and we met. And we discussed for 3 hours about colors, about food, about whiskey, about colors, everything. And at one point, the client, who was very young at this time, asked me, what do you think about the color of the boat? And I look at him, he was wearing black, I was wearing black. I said, black? He said, yes. Okay, right. So we will do a black boat. And then we started. We started for 3 years. And I was going to the shipyard every month. They were starting to build the mock-up, to build the hull, because I was not designing the hull. I'm not an architect from boat. But they started to do the mock-up of that. And I was going back and redesigning, designing. They were doing the mock-up. It was a feed that went back between us and between them and us. So we discussed about structure, we discussed about whatever inside, and the client wanted to have we discussed about the deck, and I said it has to be a flush deck because this is much beautiful to have a surface which is continuous, without asperity. And we did that. We developed the floor and the deck above. We did some models to broad model to make them understanding how to build that, for example, because they did not know how to do it. And we exchange. I learned a lot from them. They learned from me. It was a very nice adventure. Having a window into the floor, that means a frame, which is usually very big, and something in glass in between. I said, no way. We put some sheets of black glass inserted into the floor, continuous surface, and the light, the natural light will go down on B side of the deck. And in the night, the artificial light will come from the same place. And inside, this is with partition, sliding partition everywhere, because the client wanted to have different possibility to live in. So we make sliding everything. So this is in between the kitchen and the roof, a little salon to go up on the roof, on the deck. And this is a bar with a sliding partition cutting the bar in two pieces when you want to not see the kitchen into the boat. I can't look at and show you everything because it's not really, I'm not totally allowed to do that. But and the guest, the main bathroom, the main bedroom, we designed everything. We designed the bed, we designed the bathroom on the back, and the bathroom is limited by a mirror stainless steel surface to amplify the surface and the impression of surface of this place. And I don't know if we will see that. No. So I will explain to you. So inside, so you see that the floor, oh my God, the floor is perforated here. No. Okay, the floor is perforated here because you have a shower into the ceiling. So the water is coming down. And when you want to take a bath, you push a button and the floor is flipping into that huge partition and you have a bath. And a huge one. And we design also the basin, which is reflected into the mirror wall at the back side. So this is it was very interesting to do that for 3 years. And I started to do furniture when I won the competition for a phone box in the UNESCO headquarters in Paris. So because you've never been to Paris, next time you go to Paris, if you go, I will encourage you to go to the UNESCO headquarters. Because the UNESCO headquarters, and for me it was a shame because I went to this building. I was living there forever. And it's the first time that I went into this building. Because I was thinking, it's a concrete building. I'm built in steel and glass. I'm not interested by concrete, etc. So I went there and I discovered how fantastic this building is. It has been built by Marcel Breuer, the American architect, with the engineer Nervi from Italy, one of the best engineer in the 20th century. And it has been built in the 50s. And the client, the UNESCO headquarters, wanted to transform, to renovate the main hall for lecture hall. And they wanted to rebuild the desk for for all the commission all the countries that are coming there. So I proposed to them to do an object which is developed with sensuous surfaces. Because when I went into the UNESCO headquarters, I discovered that the concrete there is really sensuous. It's absolutely incredible. There are in that main hall, there are columns that sometimes start round, becomes ovoid and finishing rectangle. Another one is starting hexagonal and finishing. This is incredible. And when you go to the main auditorium room of the UNESCO, this is like if you enter under a please dress by Issey Miyake, but in concrete. This is incredible. So I said, my God, I never saw that before. Okay, so I have to care about that. So I decided to do something particular for the desk. And I went to a little boat factory, a little boat artisan, an hour from Paris, and we built together that object with plastic because the 50s, when the building had been built, were the heroic time of plastic, beginning of plastic in the world. So we did that in plastic. And we chose the color in reference to one color in the fresco by Picasso, because in that building, there are thousands of pieces of art. Because when they built the building, they asked a great architect, a great engineer, but also they asked for all the main artists of the time, of the 50s, to do something for the building everywhere. So in that hall, we have a big, huge fresco by Picasso, and one of the colors in the fresco is orange. So we decided to use that color for the desk, yes. And then they asked me for providing seats. I was dreaming to design seats. All the architects were dreaming at this time to design seats. I said, but it's complicated because you have to care about the proportion, etc., etc. So, but I wanted to do a seat. But I knew that it was for many people. So I decided to rework on the snake that Paulin, the French designer from the 60s, designed as a snaked articulated sofa that were in the main lobby, in banks, in museums, etc. And I said, okay, but this is a huge sofa, but I want to design a seat. So I recreated the snake by having an armchair, which is that one, a seat and a back, creating a kind of canapé with the back and the seat connected, and a twisted one, where you can sit on both sides as a confidant. To choose the leather in reference to one tapestry of Le Corbusier in the same hall, and to make them after that connected and making them snaking into the space. And then they were asking for tables. So I decided to propose a long table of 3 meters long in plastic again, with little legs, and a folding aluminum for a paper basket and an ashtray. And now we have redeveloped the table with the man with who we did, with mirror stainless steel below and a black wood on the top. And the paper basket become a stool. Luceplan called me to ask to do a suspension lamp, which has to be 1 meter and 20 in dimension, in diameter. So I proposed to reinverse the system of this globe that we were suspending above tables. That was a huge object with the lamp going down. And I was thinking I can do an indirect lighting with a surface. So this is why this is a surface with a disc underneath, and above and between the disc and the surface, there is all the lighting, that using this underneath as an indirect light. And in Korea, they do some biennale, and so once they asked me to propose a lamp, and I did that. Just a stone, like that. And now with Luceplan, we are developing this new lamp, which is a suspension with candles, but not real candles. Just we call it candles. These are called candles, which is totally different than what I did before for them. And yes, a friend of mine, who is an artistic director, who is a designer, very known, called me once and he said, Odile, do you want to design a knife? I said, a knife? Why not? I was driving in Paris when I received this call. And he said, yes, it's a folding knife. I said, oh, yes, I love folding knives. Why? Because folding knives are worker's knife. And every company, every kind of different workers have a different knife. Depending if you have for vineyard, for wood structure, for everything, they have different knives. I don't know in States, but in France it's like that. In Europe it's like that. So I said, but I want to have a black blade. He said, okay, we will ask them. So black blade. But now, how to design a knife when you're an architect and you do big project, big building? I said, okay. I took some pasta in my hand, and I molded it in my hand to say, okay, I can do that if it's comfortable in my hand to do the body of the knife. And I pass this pasta to anybody in my office to check if it's comfortable until we reach the comfort for everybody. We put the blade in, and I brought that to the man, and he told me, you did a model for a knife? I said, I don't know how to design that. So this is a knife, and it has been named Le Noir, by Odile Decq. Okay, normal. So you remember the first installation that I showed you was for an art gallery close to my office. And the man, as soon as we renovated the gallery, wanted to bring his dog, because he has a dog, he's living with a dog. So he wanted to bring back the dog basket in the gallery. And I said, no way. In an art gallery, you don't have to have a dog basket. If you have basket for your dogs coming from the supermarket, forget it, this is ugly. I said, okay, we will design the purpose of the basket for Victor, because the dog is Victor. So we went to see the dog, measuring him, etc., and designing a ball in aluminum, molded aluminum, ask a lady in the area to sew a mattress for Victor. And Victor lived there for 10 years. Now he died, sorry for him, but he was very happy to be there. And then, as soon as I did that, I said to the gallery, I can do that from men to mice. And in 2013, he said, now it's time for mices. I did that. So if you have mices, I can offer you a house for your mices. Thank you. That's it.
Questions, maybe?
If you want. I'm still. Okay. Yeah.
Where? I think it's you.
Okay. So I noticed in a lot of your projects that you often employ the heavy use of glass in a large part of your facades. And I was just curious, because sometimes it was for private spaces like the bedroom or the bathroom. How much of a concern is privacy or interior conditions to you, I guess?
It depends on the people. Some people agree to live with transparency, some not. So it depends on your life, whatever you want. So this is not for everybody the same. But sometimes, okay, we can have curtains, we can have shelters if you want. But I propose to everybody what do they want. And sometimes they say, okay, no problem. So this is up to them. I don't want to force them to have a shutter or a curtain if they don't want. They are free with their body, you know. It's another generation, maybe sometimes.
Thank you so much for coming. I really love your work. I noticed that in most of your projects you have your own sensibility. It's coming through. Your, one could say, artistic touch is coming through. In terms of how you're perceiving architecture and design today, or at least in academic settings, sometimes that's discouraged. Sometimes it's about solving the problem. What do you think about that? Where do you rest in that idea of having your artistry come through in your work?
It's always artistic, because I think that architects have artistic part, have artistic components, and architecture is a part of art. So if they don't want to let me do that, I leave. I'm free enough to do that, you know. But most of the time, now they know me. They know that I will do something particular, and they agree. So, but I discuss with them. I always discuss with the client. I bring them to my field. Because you have to know that when you are an architect, at the beginning, you want to explain what is architecture to your client. Forget that, they will never listen to you. Because they will never understand what is architecture. Architecture is a particular art. So you have to ask them what they want and bring them into your field, not imposing them your architecture. So this is a discussion that we have to have with them all the time. And I discovered that very early in my career. I said, okay, now I have to step back to not making them forced to do that, but at the end I came to what I wanted to do. As I said to you with the people in Rome, I proposed them black to have white. So this is the same. You have to have a kind of a tricky way of thinking sometimes.
Why did you choose red?
It's always the same question. Every time in the lecture. Okay. Okay. This red come. Okay, no. This is my red. It's a particular red that I have as a sample for a project long time ago, and now I use it all the time. When I need red, I use it. That I take a little piece of paper and I give that to the contractor. Do it like that, etc. But red is life. It's energy. It's being lively, alive for me. And it's as much that when I did that for the first building that I show you for offices, the client at the beginning, after the opening, said to me, you know, Odile, there is maybe a little bit too much red into the building, etc. I said, oh, yes, really? But you agree for having that. And your logo is red, so I can do it. So I said, okay, we have to come together. We have to go together to discuss with the people working there. So I took my client and I said, okay, what do you think about the red? They said, oh, yes, we are waking up very early in the morning. When you are arriving there, this is really energetic for us. I said, okay, this is good. Maybe they were workers, so they feel. No, red, yes, because it's life. And it goes very well with the black. So I don't have a very intellectual or very particular answer for that, just because I like it.
Final question.
Thank you so much for the fantastic presentation. One question I had throughout your lecture today is, I guess because you have such a wide range of built work spanning across all these different scales, your presentation was mainly based off of photographs of built projects, right? And I'm curious how, with a lot of your projects, they're very kind of based off of visual perception or the interplay of materials and light. And so I'm curious about your working methodology and how you iterate through models, drawing, and photography in order to sort of like develop that series of techniques and effects that register, in built form as the final result.
So first, I have to say that I always go to the site, wherever it is, whatever the size of the project is, I go to the site. And I visit the site, I meet the client, and I look at the surrounding myself. And my ideas are coming sometimes very, very easily because I have a certain experience now. And sometimes it comes from going back in the plane, in the train, or in the car. Depends, because this is when you start to think. And sometimes it's through the discussion that I start in the office for starting the work. But at the beginning, I always try to tell a story about how I would like that we live inside, that we experiment the space inside. And I always refer to the way, what I like myself. And I like space. I like to be able to travel, to walk, I'm not the static person. So I like to that. So I don't have a specific methodology because it depends also of the people in the office. Because when, maybe 20 years ago, they were doing models. And I pushed them to have models. And Igor was very impressed by the collection of sketching models that I have in the office, more than 700 all around the office. And, but now this is more difficult to make young people working on models. They go directly to their screen. And it's a shame because I don't know how to play with the screen myself. So I try to explain to them what to do. And sometimes when we have specific curves, specific drawings, specific things, I sit close to them on the table, and I say, okay, you have to do that, push that tray, push that, etc. And sometimes I take a tracing paper on the screen and I say, do that like that. Scan it and copy it now. This is easier. So I don't have a methodology. I don't use always the same things. It depends on the person working with me. And it's always a discussion, it's always a talk, a kind of a workshop.